What's up, guys? Welcome to the Sesh. Today I have a special guest.
Hi,
Please
everybody.
introduce yourself. If they don't know who you are, explain to them.
Hi, everybody. My name is Leah Wise. I am an attorney here in the RGV, but I represent clients statewide. I'm originally from Harlingen, Texas, moved away for college and law school, decided I wanted to be home. So I've been back in the Valley for about 6 years now. I own my own law practice. I just opened a clothing line, and I'm in the process of getting my nonprofit started.
Ooh, nonprofit. Talk about that. I'm interested in that.
So I am super passionate about helping women, specifically like young Latinas, because I remember when I moved away from the Valley, it was sort of like a culture shock for me. I was like, oh my God, like I'm meeting so many cool people who come from like wealthy families. They've traveled the world. They went to private school. And so that intimidated me. And so now I'm past all that, but now I'm like, you know what? I want to help, the Latinos of the RGV feel like we have just as much to bring to the table, if not more, than people from, other cities and other states. So I am really passionate about empowering Latinos, Latinas, and so my nonprofit is going to be geared towards that, empowering Latinas, yeah.
I feel like a lot of people I talk to is like the Valley is in a bubble. Have you ever heard that?
Yeah, all the
There's
time.
a certain mentality that the Rio Grande Valley has. Do you run across that? Or is it, because I know it's a very touchy subject because
It is.
I bring it up and people are like, yeah, fuck yeah, like those people are like this and they hate on us. I feel that there's two different people in the Valley.
Okay.
Like there's some people that will root you on and there's some people that will talk shit, but that's just the way it is everywhere. Is it not? Or what do you see?
I think you're right. That is everywhere. I do think that for whatever reason in Latino culture, there tends to be, I don't know, like people around you want you to stay close to home. They don't want you to like get too big, too successful. And maybe it's just, a comfort zone sort of thing. But I've made it my mission to only surround myself with people who are supportive, who never doubt my dreams or never, you know what I mean? Constructive criticism is great. And I can tell when it comes from a well-meaning place. And then I can tell when somebody is threatened by what I'm saying or what I'm, my aspirations.
Right.
So I don't want to say it's unique to the Latino culture because I think every culture has that. I think we're getting better at not being that way because there's so much awareness now about like mental health, supporting each other, that sort of thing. But I think it's something that Latinos have struggled with in the past. I'm hoping that we're moving forward, though.
Yeah. You touched on something very specific that if it doesn't align in your life, you kind of push it away.
Yeah.
I only learned that in my 40s, and it took me a very long time. And that's what this is for. So this is a timeline of my life going forward. So if I were to, so from 40 to 100, just say that, right? It's very deep because if I am allowed to live as long as my grandfather is right now, he's 93. From 40 to 93, that's not very long. Plus, 40 to about 50 and 50 to 60 are probably the biggest years that are going to impact the rest of your life after that. And that's probably when you're going to be the fittest, the strongest, and the most mental aware.
Okay.
Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Like, you have that allotted time to do what you're going to do.
Between 40 and 60?
Well, for you, now it's the 30s into
Right.
60. I feel like for people that are going to do something and are purpose-driven, like that time frame is ticking away fast.
It is.
What do you feel about that?
It's so weird because I remember being young, like, my early 20s and always wishing I was older and like always wanting people to think I was older. And now that I'm in my 30s, I'm like, where did the time go? Like every year seems to be passing by faster and faster. And not that I want to be younger because I, embrace the person I am now and my life is way better now than it was in my 20s. But I've noticed that time is going by so much faster. And I feel like maybe as you get older, it's just faster, 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 faster.
It really does. Like the older you get, the faster it goes. It's kind of scary because
It is. Like, how are we already in May?
Exactly.
I don't get that. Like, New Year's Eve was yesterday. That's what it feels like to me.
Yeah, no, you're right,
So
because
weird. We're already halfway through 2023.
yeah, I remember filming the documentary, The Collapse, and I was just telling Rob's like, dude, in a year, we're gonna look back at this, and we're gonna be on our next project, and we're already past the next project.
Yeah.
Like I tell him all the time, like, dude, like time passes by so fast. Like I'm in a hurry to get things done. What do you feel like? I feel like a lot of younger people aren't in such a hurry. Is that something you see?
I think it varies. I for sure was in a hurry, and that's one of my biggest regrets is that I was like I didn't enjoy the ride, right? I was always like
the process.
Next thing. School, law school, work right away. You know what I mean? By 26, I was like already a business owner, already a practicing lawyer, which is great. But at the same time, I wish I had, enjoyed the process more. I wish I wasn't so concerned with like, go. And so when I talk to young kids and I can tell that they're like super anxious about the future, I'm like, these are some of the best years of your life. Don't rush them. The struggle is part of the beauty of life. You know what I mean? One of my favorite quotes is by Sigmund Freud. I'm not like a Sigmund Freud fan or anything, but one of my favorite quotes is by him, and it's something like, one day you'll look back and realize the days of struggle were some of the most beautiful, right? Because like you had to go through that struggle to get to where you are now.
And to become the person that you are now.
Exactly. So I don't really see young kids, I don't know, Gen Z is weird. Maybe they are taking their time. I don't know. Millennials for sure. I feel like we were so rushed to grow up. Gen Z, I think they're a little bit more relaxed and a little bit more entitled, and not entitled really in a bad way, because I know entitled has like a negative connotation. Sometimes it's bad, but sometimes it's good. Like they are very demanding in the workplace, and I'm sure, you know what I mean?
I don't, because that's an interesting thing, because I always ask people that employ a lot of people, because I'm mostly, I hire out certain things.
Okay, yeah.
So that's why I'm super interested to learn about the Gen Z and the younger people like are coming up in the world that are going to contribute back into the world.
Yeah.
See, that for me is like, you guys better be on your fucking game, because you're going to replace us.
I know.
And it's going to be a scary place if you can't, and you don't have the skills to be able to do that.
Yeah, I'll send you some articles, because it was making big news for a while, where Gen Z is like, they're just so demanding. Like bosses are scared of Gen Z, because they're like, I need this many days off. Oh, for my mental health, I'm not going to come in today. And sorry, I'm going to have to work from home, 3 days a week. And this is like basically setting their terms and being super demanding and entitled about it, which to me is good and bad. I'm glad that they have that confidence. At the same time, I hope we're not encouraging, like laziness or,
I would say
off.
I don't know if it's encouraging it, because I feel like they have to be competent in the first place to be able to address that. Like, hey, I want 3 days off, or mental health. Like for me, I will literally get up and do the same things regardless of how I feel that day, because I know things need to get done.
Yeah.
Like, are you that same way?
Sorry if I'm breathing too much into the mic. I am. Some days are easier than others. Some days I'm like, I really don't have motivation to do anything. Some days I wake up and I'm like ready to take on the world, but I almost without fail get up every day and do the things that I'm supposed to do. It's very rare that I actually take a day off doing nothing. Even when I'm on vacation, I'm not truly on vacation, because I'm on emails, I'm on text messages, phone calls, everything. It's rare that I take an entire day off. It's super rare. So to answer your question, yes, I usually do get up and do the things that I need to do. And I don't know, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I feel it is a good thing, because the fact is that if you're doing that every single day, because I'm sure you live an active lifestyle. You were telling me earlier that you work out 5 days a week.
I do, yeah.
So I'm sure within that, you found some type of discipline that you keep on going and you're going and you're going. The fact is that you're doing that is other people won't. And I found this to be the craziest thing. Is like, I talk about it all the time, but I've never experienced it. Like, I started hanging out with a lot of people that were not just as driven, and they kind of, so the 5 people that you hang out with, that is a true fucking statement.
It is.
I never realized
so
it, but it is true.
is.
And I feel bad because I have a lot of great friends, and it's not to say anything bad about them, but their goals are not aligned with what I want to do at this point in my life. So
Right.
everything I do now is very purpose driven. And it took me so long to figure that out. Like, so now I'm holding on to any little thing that I can to keep that aligned with my life.
Yeah.
Do you feel like the same way?
Yeah, I love that you touched on that because as I've gotten older, I've realized how true that is. Like, you are a culmination of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And if you're spending time with people who are not goal-oriented, people who are not motivated to move forward in life, you're going to sort of, not that those are bad people, right? Like, they can be great people. They're just more content. I personally am ambitious. I want to keep moving forward. I want to keep, helping out my community. And so it's become really important to me to surround myself with people who have, we can sit around and talk about dreams, ideas, goals, like, you know what I mean? Rather than just sitting around, gossiping or playing games or whatever. So I love that you touched on that because it's something that you should learn at a young age and not wait till your 30s and 40s to figure that out.
Yeah, I feel like almost people are offended if you talk about that. Like if you talk about it a lot, because I've gotten this, like people reach out, they won't say it per se on the actual post, but they'll reach out to you and make sure that their feelings are known. And when I try to say, like, this is me, dude, like, this
what
is
do
not
they say,
you.
though?
They just say, like, I find that super offensive. Like, why would you even say that? Like, because I'm all about work ethic.
Yeah.
And I'm all about, I'm about very specific
Yeah.
things. And I want things a specific way because I found later in my life, those things work for me.
Yeah.
And it helps me on the path to success. And the way I figure it out is, like, if you're getting these little indicators of success, you're on the right path. If you don't, then you're probably doing something wrong and you need to reevaluate what you're doing. So even saying that to people is offensive.
I know.
Where do you think that comes from?
People get triggered. People get triggered by the weirdest things. And I feel like if you are triggered by what Josh and I are talking about right now, you have inner work to do. You really do. And I mean that in the nicest, kindest way possible. If you are triggered by Josh and I saying that we're only going to surround ourselves with the best people, and for whatever reason that offends you, you probably have some work to do inside of you, because if I hear somebody say that they're only going to hang around with the best people, that doesn't affect me at all. Right. Because, I mean, why does that person's preferences affect me? You know what I mean? I feel like the more offended you get about other people's lifestyle and preferences, the more that is you need to do, like, work within yourself. Because I've gotten to a point in my life where there's very few things that can offend me. Yeah. Like there's very few things that bother me. And I didn't always used to be that way. I get horrible, mean comments, and it's like public. You can see why are you in this profession? All you do is take photos. All you do is travel, and you wear slutty things, and you're trying to lure in men. You're not a good role model, and like none of it bothers me, because am I successful? Yes. Did I build a business from almost nothing to 7-figure revenue? Yes. Do I have amazing people in my life? Yes. Do I like myself? Yes. So it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks or says about me. If you take the time to comment mean things on people's social media, that says so much more about you than it does about that person.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, and I feel like it's a very interesting thing, because the amount of work I had to do on myself over like the past year and a half, it takes a lot of fucking work. Like literally every single day, you cannot take a day off. And I feel like for me to go backwards and think about what somebody said or have them, whatever they said, affect me, it would be pointless, because it's not the overall goal of what I want in this life. So I feel like, who cares? At the end of the day, but as much as I do care, I don't care. It's a very fine line.
It is.
Like, because I would love to say a lot of things that I wish I could say, especially on the podcast. Like, there's certain things that I just don't touch on because...
You should.
Well, the thing is...
It's your podcast.
Yes, but I understand, like, the people I work with. So, for me, I am an extension of the people I work for. Mm-hmm. So, I get it, like, if I say certain things that might trigger people or offend people, that also is like, hey, you hired that guy, you work with that guy. I've lost jobs to people just by association with people. And it's the strangest thing in the world, not because of the capabilities of what I can do, just because I'm associated with that.
Right.
It's the most mind-boggling thing to me.
It is, and I don't know for a fact, but if I had to guess, I've probably lost potential clients because, because of what I post or how I feel, or I'm too, feminist or whatever. I'm sure I've lost clients, but the way I see things is like what's meant for me is going to come to me. Yeah. You know what I mean? If they chose another attorney to hire, like it sucks, but I guess they just weren't meant for me. We weren't the right fit. Yeah. So I think attorney-client relationship is important. We need to trust each other, and maybe they weren't going to be a good fit with me. So I try not to dwell on that sort of stuff, because there have been times in the past where I'm like, I don't think I'm going to post this bikini photo because I might lose clients, right? Yeah. And now I'm past that, and I'm like, I'm going to post whatever I want, and the people that jive with me are going to call me, and they, relate to me, and they like me, and they trust me. So that's how I've sort of gotten past that. But even now, I still have like a pause. Yeah. And then I'm like, whatever, post it, I'm just going to be my authentic self, and if people don't like that, well then, we're just not a good fit. Yeah. My numbers speak for themselves.
Absolutely. And that's an indicator of success. Like, how do you define success?
Success to me is not money. Success to me is not what you have, what you drive, what you wear, what kind of purses you have. And I know people probably think that I think that's what success is, because I love clothes and purses and shoes and all of that. But you can be rich and have all of the best things in the world and be very unhappy. Yeah. Because I've been there. I've been financially well off and not happy. So I'm a true testament that money is not success. To me, success is being content with yourself, and having a great support system, and having people you can, talk to, because to me, loneliness and not feeling belonged, to me, that is like the worst thing, in my opinion. So to me, success is like reaching a point where you are completely secure and confident in yourself and what you bring to the table. And if you lose money because of it, at the end of the day, like, I go to sleep at night knowing that I'm not hurting anybody. I'm doing things ethically. And so to me, that is success, because there's plenty of very rich people who cannot sleep at night. Yeah. You know what I mean? Very rich, lonely people who cannot sleep at night. Yeah. To me, that is not success.
No, you're right, because I've found through the talks that I chat with a lot of people, and I feel like this is also another thing, is that people simply don't take the time to have conversations or to think. Like, have you run across that? Because I feel like I have a lot of conversations with people on purpose. Like, this is intentional. Like, I want to know you. I want to get to know you because I see you're an influence in the community, and I want to attach myself to you somehow. Mm-hmm. So I feel like these people that I'm bringing into my life is a conscious choice. Mm-hmm. Like, touch on that, because I think it's very important that you can, and I feel like all foo-foo and stuff sometimes when I'm talking about, like, you putting this stuff out into the world, and you can literally write your life.
I agree. And this morning, so I listen to podcasts every morning while I'm getting ready. Every morning I'm listening to something. And a lot of my podcasts are foo-foo, woo-woo, whatever, like weird stuff. Like, you create your own reality. The energy you put out comes back to you. A lot of stuff that preaches that. When you're in a state of gratitude, more good things come to you. When you are not in a state of gratitude, when you're feeling like the world is against you, you're going to invite more of that, right? Yeah. And so it's impossible to always be in a state of gratitude. I recognize that, but I like that, I educate myself, and I've found tools to where I can sort of cope, get myself out of a negative state of mind.
What are some of those tools?
Taking a nap. Okay. Watching TV, staying away from my phone, talking to somebody I love. Those are, 4 or 5, after I work out, I'm in a great mood. But before I work out, I'm like, oh, I hate life. I don't want to work out. But after I work out, I'm like, oh, I'm in a great mood. So those are some of the ways that I feel like you can get out of a negative state of mind. Like, just take a nap.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You'll wake up and hopefully you will have, slept off that negative mindset that you were in. But I do believe that all of that stuff, energy, karma, and I know it sounds crazy, but you create your own reality.
Yeah.
I'm a true believer that you create your own reality. So I think you have to do the inner work every single day, like you said.
And it's hard because you are literally working on yourself every single day. You know your worst flaws.
You do.
Nobody else does.
Nobody else knows your deepest, darkest secrets and the things that you see as flaws. And that's why we're so hard on ourselves and why others are not, because they don't see that.
Yeah.
They see, all the best things about you. But only we know the bad things about us, which is why we're hard on ourselves, but we have to work through it. And if there's something that we truly don't like about ourselves, then change it. You know what I mean? If you don't like that you're a jealous person, then there are ways to retrain your mind to not be a jealous person.
Yeah.
It might take a lot more work than somebody who's naturally not jealous, but if you're a jealous person and you know that you get triggered by jealousy, you have to do the work every single day to rid yourself of that trait, because it will eat you up.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, because I've found that people just, even into their 80s and 90s, they hold resentment against somebody. And imagine holding that the whole life. Like, how can you, like, they're not even part of your life anymore and you still hold it in you. Like, it's crazy to me.
That's weird. And I don't really experience that. I there's nobody that I have resentment towards. But I know that some people do hold a lot of resentment. And I think that the way to work through that is to talk it out, go to therapy.
Touch on that, because I feel like a lot of people, if you say therapy, I go to my therapist, like, people think like, oh, something's wrong with this person. But I feel like you have to get that out of you.
Yeah. And it's funny because I when I was listening to your former podcast, you and, is it Robert? Robert talked about that because he went through something extremely traumatic. Mm-hmm. Imagine if he kept that in.
Yeah.
Right? The more you keep things in, the worse they get. You have to
give it to the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
One of you said that. And I was like, that's so great. You have to give it to the world and let go of it and release it. I'm a big advocate of what I call sitting in the fire.
Okay.
My spiritual coach and I, we call it sitting in the fire. You sit with your negative emotions, right? And you don't avoid them. You don't distract yourself from them by drinking or drugs, because a lot of people do that. They'll avoid their problems and drink and party and do drugs or whatever, their vices. You have to face those emotions head on. You have to sit in them. You have to experience them, and eventually they will pass.
Yeah.
So I'm sure Robert can speak on that. When he went to therapy, I'm sure he had to do the hard work of sitting with that trauma.
Yeah, and it's not easy because it doesn't go away. Like,
No.
you those traumatic experiences stay with you for the rest of your life. But it's those coping mechanisms. I feel like the
Yes.
older you get and the more life beats you down, you have to have those coping mechanisms. And a coping mechanism for me is working out. I dread it. I hate it. Not people don't believe me. Like, I wake up at 5:30 now in the morning, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and the first thing I think about is like, fuck, I have to lift heavy ass weights today. I hate
the first thing that-
it's the first thing that pops out of my head. Like, it's the dreaded part, but I know I like the end results because it's adding to the quality of my life. So the quality of the rest of my life that I have, I want it to be the best.
Isn't that so weird that something that's so good for you, like, you dread so much? I just can't wrap my mind around that because, like I said, I work out 5 times a week, right? The same thing. The 2 days that I don't work out, I wake up in such a good mood. I'm like, yes, I don't have to work out. And the 5 days that I do wake up and I have to work out, I'm like, oh, life is horrible. I wish I didn't have to do this. And I'm like, I don't know why I feel that way, because at the end of it, I'm like, that was great.
Right.
I have all these endorphins. I feel healthy. I feel strong. But some people, look forward to working out, others don't. But I think what is undeniable is that working out really does have a lot of health benefits, mental and physical.
Yeah, it really does, because now I'm super meticulous about the things that I eat and all that stuff. So I'm trying to figure out like the things that have worked in my life that have helped me get success, I want to do more of. So I figured out like a frame of work of how I do things. So now I'm just applying that to everything. And it seems to be working because obviously it's working.
Yeah.
I know it's working.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting thing. And I want to touch on another aspect of skills.
Okay.
So I feel like a lot of people in the workplace now are feeling misplaced or can be replaced. And you were talking about that earlier, is how employees probably have the upper hand now when they work for somebody. So they can make the rules, and it's kind of taken the hierarchy away from the boss. And I talk to a lot of business owners, and they're like, no, dude, I am the boss. So there's a headbutting there. But I feel like the way you cannot get replaced is by skills.
Yeah.
And I call it skill stacking. You get
Yeah.
relevant skills, and they turn into this beast of a skill set that you become unfireable. Can you kind of touch on that?
Yeah, so being an employer is hard. It really is. It's one of the hardest things about my life, because you have different personalities, people with, different preferences, and, everybody has bad days, everybody has problems at home, and that can affect your work product and your bottom line, And so there's a careful balance. And I think you have to treat your employees well. You do. If you treat your employees well, they're going to want to do good things for you. So, but at the same time, you can't let them walk all over you, right? Like there's a fine line of like, I'm going to respect you. I'm not going to belittle you. I'm never going to yell at you or berate you, but I have really high expectations of you. And if you are not producing, then you're not a right fit here. Or if you're producing and you're the best, that this touches on skills. Say you're the most skilled person in what you do. If you have a bad attitude, I do not want you.
And that goes back to the culture.
Yes.
So kind of talk of the culture that you have at your place.
Oh my gosh. So I'm actually conducting interviews, and I always say the most important thing is positive attitude, because there's no room for negativity in the workspace, at least my workspace, right? I work in a law firm of all women. It's all girls. And one bad apple can hurt everything. You know what I mean? If somebody comes in and they're taking out their home life on people, it brings everybody down. And then nobody wants to, be nice to the clients, or, it just affects everything. So I'm a huge believer in culture, office culture. And
how do you build that? Because I feel like people talk about culture, and you hear like with these huge companies like Facebook, Apple, and all that stuff, but now they're starting to like get rid of all these employees. What is it? How does culture work? Like how do you implement that?
So I don't think I'm a large enough company to be able to speak a lot on how to implement office culture. I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, about 5 employees, 6, including myself. And then I outsource something like marketing things, and they're there a lot. So we're a small business, right? But I go a lot on like vibes. Like, what vibe do I get from you? You know, like, did you come in here with a smile? Did you, come in here and immediately start talking badly about your past employer? That's a huge red flag. If you came in here and you were like, yeah, my old boss, like, or my old colleagues, and, just saying bad things, like, you're going to talk bad about, you're a gossiper. And
right.
I don't like that. To me, in your interview, that's the most important time. And you have to like really make sure that the potential candidate is a positive person, that they're not talking badly about others, because once they start spreading that negativity and gossiping behind people's backs, and then it just fosters a really bad work environment. And the best thing to do for any employers who are in that situation is you have to get rid of them. And it's hard.
Fast.
Hire, not hire fast, but hire, and if it doesn't work out, fire fast.
Yeah.
So I have a 3-month probationary period once I hire somebody. And at the end of the 3 months, it's sort of like a trial run, not just for me, but for them.
Right.
You know what I mean? Maybe they hate working in a law office. Maybe they're meant to be somewhere else. And that at the end of those 3 months, you know, we reassess how things went. I'm watching them very closely to see how they contributed to the office culture. And, you know, if I have to let go of them, then that's the time that I'm going to do it in those first 3 months.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. I want to talk about your marketing because I feel like a lot of people, so 10 to 12 million businesses are going to fail this year. They have every single year. It's sad.
That's super sad.
What are some of the things that they could do to stay afloat? Like as far as when it comes to marketing?
Connect with your audience. Don't sell. And I say this all the time. If you're selling, that is such a turnoff. Like, what I unfollow accounts that sell me too much. You know what I mean? Like, make me laugh, give me some useful information, show the personal side. If it's a, you know, a brand, like a person is the face, I want to see like the personal side of you. You know what I mean? I want to see what kind of person you are, and then I'm going to be really invested in you and your business. If everything you're posting, well, let's talk about social media. If everything you're posting is just hire me, call me, this is what we sell, this is why, I'm like, I'm going to unfollow that person. And I feel like most people have gotten to that point this day and age, where they just keep, if they see an ad, they don't even stop. They just keep scrolling, right? So my best advice to people who are getting their marketing plan together, like a social media marketing plan together, is bring value to your audience, connect with them, make them laugh every once in a while, show them that, you know, you're not, you know, your whole life isn't about your business. Show them your personal life, and people will connect with you and they'll want to hire you or buy your product. So the number one piece of advice I have is connect with your audience. Do not sell. Of course, we have to sell every once in a while, but that shouldn't be your main content. Your main content shouldn't be ad, because I just don't think it's effective.
Yeah, it's the give, and then going for the ask.
Yeah. Do you agree?
I agree 100%. The only thing is that content marketing takes so long.
I know.
So you're giving goodwill. The only way you can build a personal brand is by giving education, information, or entertainment, or a mix of all of them. But you also have to be competent. So I feel like content marketing takes so long, but it gives so much goodwill to the people. And advertising, you could turn it on and you get like, immediate results. So that's the thing that I struggle with, because when I go up to people, it's like business owners, it's like, do you want marketing or do you want advertising? Because they're totally different, and people don't really understand that they're intertwined together, but they're two completely different things. And for people that want those immediate results, which there are people like that, they want the advertising. For the people that want to put goodwill into the world and have the longevity for the next 10 years, they put out content marketing. But the businesses that can do both will dominate the whole area.
That's a great point, because I focus a lot on branding, which isn't so much immediate results. And if I'm being completely honest, my law firm didn't see like real financial success until about 3 years into the business. That's a long time. Well,
that's relatively short, actually, because some people do it for like 5-6 years and they finally pop off and they're like, dude, you didn't even see it. I was doing this shit for like 6 years ago.
I think people assume that I was an overnight success. And I'm like, if you could only see like my first 3 years, like my car would break down on me. I lived in an apartment that had almost no windows. It was so depressing. I was, picking up court appointments at the courthouse. I was, barely making ends meet. But people see the Leah now, the Leah who travels and has, nice things. And I'm like, you have to be patient. You know what I mean? I wish I knew how to get immediate results. But in my line of work, how many lawyers do you see on the expressway? And on TV? And on Facebook and Instagram? I don't know how. The competition is just so like, it's too much. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to work on branding myself, setting myself apart from, all the lawyers who are just selling. And it ended up paying off for me. but it took about 3 years.
Yeah, it takes a while, and I don't think people really understand that because they just want the immediate. They see you, and they assume that the success already happened. So they're like, "I want that," and they'll hire the exact same company that you hired, and it doesn't work that way.
And expect the results immediately. Yeah.
It just doesn't work like that. What are some of the things that you've seen, like the struggles that you've seen with social media?
From a business perspective or from a personal?
Both. Like, because you are attached to your business.
Right.
So what do you see, like, what's been the biggest hurdle?
As far as social media, I would say setting yourself apart from everybody else who's trying to get the same clients on social media. Everybody is trying to get the same, all the lawyers are trying to get the same clients, right? And so if you really want to set yourself apart, you really have to get creative on social media. And not everybody has that creative mind to set themselves apart on social media. And they're just, posting the same ad over and over again, hoping that it works. So I would say my big hurdle is setting myself apart and also having the guts to do it. Because it takes, you really make yourself vulnerable.
Yeah, you're putting yourself out there.
You're putting yourself out there for everybody to pick apart and criticize and say, what are her qualifications? She looks dumb. She's just, all she cares is about is, money, whatever. There's so many different things that people have said about me, and it used to hurt my feelings a lot. And I used to get really sad about it and down about it, and I would reflect on it, and it would make me not want to keep putting myself out there. And I was like, well, maybe I should just apply for a job where I don't have to do any of this social media marketing or TV marketing. And at the end of the day, I was like, do these people pay my bills?
Yeah.
No. Do these people have anything to do with my personal life? No. Why do I care what they think? You know what I mean? If anything, these horrible comments that they're leaving is actually doing
triggering
good.
The engagement.
Triggering the engagement, exactly. And then all of a sudden, a lot of people are commenting, and then bad press is good press. You know what I mean? The eyes are there on you.
Yeah.
So I can understand why people are like, I'm just so nervous to start advertising on social media. In any line of work, I can see. Well,
the reason why is because a lot of business owners don't know when their next client is going to come in. So that's the scariest thing, is because I'm going to give this marketing or advertising agency this amount of money. How do I guarantee it? Well, the thing is that the processes of it, and also if you have undeniable evidence that you have achieved for past clients, it's kind of like a roadmap. Like, this is what you need to do to be able to get this outcome. So I feel like a lot of people are maybe too young in the industry to be able to guarantee those type of things. But it's a scary thing for a business owner, because they're like, I'm making all this money and I need to feed this. Mm-hmm. How do I feed that with getting a guarantee? And it's a scary thing for people. For marketing and agency, for advertising.
Yeah.
I feel like you spend obviously a lot of money on that part.
Right.
So can you kind of touch on that? Because I feel like you're investing money to be able to get the goodwill out, and eventually people will become clients.
Yeah.
Is that how you see it, or?
So when I am thinking about hiring or spending money, investing in advertising or branding, I think it's important to track your metrics, right? Anytime somebody calls my office, my staff has to ask them, how did you hear of us? Billboard, TV, social media, friend, referred by a former client. They have to ask that question, because I need to know where my money is being spent best.
Yeah.
And for a while, I was advertising on Univision, right? After a year or 6 months, I realized nothing is coming from Univision. It was, I think we broke even, right? The amount that I spent on that and the clients that it brought in, it kind of broke even. I realized that putting my money in billboards and social media is where I get the majority of my clients. So that's where I'm going to invest in.
Right.
And I'm going to hire a marketing agency who, probably has clients who have succeeded. I'm going to look at their their clients and see, okay, are their clients doing well? Okay, yes. Do I like them, right? Like I have to get along with them. If I'm not getting along with them, we're not going to work well together.
It goes back to the culture.
Yeah, it goes back to the culture. It goes back to the vibes, the energy. You know what I mean? And I've actually given a shot to a marketing agency who had like 1 or 2 clients. And I was just like, I really like y'all's energy. I like it. Y'all are creative. Y'all are funny. I'm going to give you all a shot. And we worked out really well together. And I ended up moving in-house for marketing. But, you know, it was just like the energy.
Yeah.
You know, I just really liked their energy.
That's an interesting topic because I feel like for me, I had to work on myself professionally in a very demanding way because people will they'll look at you first and they'll figure out if they want to do business with you.
Yeah.
Then they'll see if you're competent or not.
Right.
So you can get in the door just by the way you look, and I really hated that, but it is the truth.
Why did you hate it?
Because I felt like I was more competent than a lot of people, but that was my ego. So I had to kind of push that away. And that's why I work so hard on myself. And that's why I work out all the time, because I know in this industry, you have to be able to get ahead. And the first thing that people look at is who you are. And as soon as you walk in, they're already judging you.
Right.
That's how it is. That's simply how it is.
Yeah.
So can you kind of touch on that?
On like first impressions?
First impressions, because I feel like a lot of people will see somebody and like that guy's competent or that girl's competent just based off of the way they look and the way they dress.
Yeah,
It's true.
It's so true. Well, I'll talk about what I know. In the legal industry, you're not going to hire a guy or girl with like torn shoes and like torn socks. And maybe they're brilliant. Like maybe they're like, you know, Einstein and whatever. But you're probably not going to hire them because they look horrible. You know what I mean? Like they don't take care of themselves. Whereas somebody who's dressed sharp, clean, hygiene, smells good, you're automatically going to assume that they're more competent. I don't know why
we're humans. That's why.
Humans, and it's the strangest thing because there's plenty of doctors and lawyers and marketing agencies who probably don't know how to dress and don't know how to take care of themselves, but they're brilliant, right? Yeah. And then there's people who know how to dress and they're not brilliant. I don't know why people who look good tend to have more success. I don't know. Do they? I don't know.
I feel
not more success, but at least the first benefit of the doubt. Like they'll give you the benefit of the doubt.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? If they don't perform, well, then they're not successful.
Yeah, and that's the thing is you can get the job just by the way you look. It's a very interesting concept, but I came to understand it's like it's just part of business. That's how business is.
Yeah.
Like every entrepreneur or every business owner is going to want the best possible person,
right?
And based off the way you look,
right,
that's how they judge it.
And I've always said, as somebody who loves fashion, clearly I own a clothing line. You don't have to spend a lot of money to look good. No. You just don't. I can go to a thrift store and buy a whole outfit for $15, $20 and I can make it look good.
Okay, let's stay on that for men specifically because I'm a man that does not know how to dress and I'm fine with that. I get it. Like
that's not true.
Okay, I had to work on this, okay? So for men specifically, give these guys like what would you like to see as you personally, what would you like to see a man wearing? Because I feel like a lot of men struggle in that department.
Okay.
Make it easy.
I'm going to make it real easy. And I'm going to offend people probably. But again, you don't have to dress, you don't have to spend a lot of money on your clothes to look good. Stop wearing flip-flops. Stop wearing Converse. Do you wear Converse? I'm sorry.
I had a pair.
Oh, okay. Stop wearing clothes that don't fit you correctly. I feel like if your pants are too baggy, if your shirt's too baggy, you're gonna look sloppy. Don't wear anything that's too tight either, because then you're gonna look weird. But I think a good rule of thumb is like if you can, if your whole arm can fit inside your pants, if they're not slacks, they're probably too baggy. You know what I mean? Like you want something tapered, clean, something that. Here's another good rule. Wear dark. If you're gonna wear jeans, wear dark jeans.
Okay. Why is that?
it just looks cleaner. It just looks more put together. Light jeans, of course, people can pull it off if they have style. But if you're, like, okay, I don't know what to wear.
Based off of what I'm wearing right now, do I have style? I'm wearing light.
Yeah, because
bro.
your pants are fitted. They're not too tight to where it looks like you can't breathe.
So men can't wear skinny jeans?
Of course they can. I'm talking about like what I think men should dress like.
Sure, yeah.
At the end of the day, wear whatever you want, right? Wear whatever makes you happy. But if you're asking me what I think looks good, it doesn't matter if you have the most expensive shirt. Iron the shirt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not that you should iron your shirt, but
I ironed this shirt already.
okay, yeah. Like you don't have to have the most expensive shirt. Go to the thrift store, get a button down that doesn't have any holes in it, iron it, and buy like a $15 pair of jeans that fit you well, and then put on some nice clean white tennis shoes, and you're gonna look better than half the guys.
90% of the people, yeah.
And you will have spent $30 or whatever.
Yeah.
I am a big believer in that you do not have to spend a lot of money to dress nice, because for the majority of my life, I did not have a lot of money to dress nice. And I think I always looked nice, but just because I, made sure that what I was buying was, quality, and that it fit my body type correctly. And, I don't think brand names matter. I really don't.
Yeah.
I rarely wear any clothes that show brands, because I don't think it's important.
Yeah, one of the most important things for me when I was on my fitness journey was because I weighed 250 pounds, and then I got down to 186, and now I'm gaining weight. But one of the driving factors was I didn't want to wear the fishing shirts anymore, and it's a huge thing.
Why?
Because I feel like it covers up so much in men, and especially for men, like it's just easy to throw it on. Like throw on a fishing shirt, and you're out the door. Like I wore that religiously I had every color.
It covered you up?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you wanted to be covered up.
Yes, because
okay.
I wanted to be. I wasn't comfortable with myself. Aww. So through the process, I was like, the goal is to not wear these fucking fishing shirts anymore.
To be so confident that you don't want to wear the fishing shirts.
Yeah, and it takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
Oh, now I can wear them and look good.
Yeah.
Like before, it was specifically to hide everything.
Did you have to buy like a whole new wardrobe?
Yeah, I actually got rid of all of my clothes in my closet, because I knew if I had it there, I would go back to it. So psychologically, I knew I got rid of it all. Like literally got rid of it all.
So in your mind, are you still 250, or you've already like shed that past self?
Yeah, I think I've shed that past self, because I've figured out through the process is the discipline. Like if I go to the gym 3 days a week without fail, regardless of how I feel, that becomes the discipline that I need to be able to feed myself correctly. And my life has changed. Like there's something that happened in my 40s that I just figured like, you know what? Like it's time, because everything before this wasn't leading up to where I wanted it to be.
Yeah.
And now when I turned 40 and now I'm 41, the things are finally falling into place.
Yeah.
But it takes so long.
Do you feel like your life has gotten better since you became healthy?
Yes, I am very capable of doing a lot of things, and I'm very able. And I feel like a lot of men don't realize it, because they've gone through life so much. Like I would sit on the couch, I'd go to McDonald's and just get whatever I wanted. I'd drink like crazy.
Yeah.
I'd do whatever I want. I'd barbecue on the weekends and just eat without fail. And I feel like now that I've developed the discipline and also the character to be able to lift weights every single week without fail, I'm building the body that's going to be able to help me through my 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and through the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Like it took forever, but I got there.
Yeah.
And I was very lucky. I got super lucky because I didn't get sick. I didn't have diabetes. I didn't have pre-diabetes. I just got to the point where, you know what, I was lucky. I changed the lifestyle, and now I'm where I'm at. Because it's interesting to see that a lot of people struggle with like diabetes. A lot of people struggle with weight, and it really affects their life. Like these people are on pills, they're shots and all that stuff every single day. Like for my mom, she tells me there's not a single day that she doesn't feel good. That's sad. Like I had her try to come up here to the studio. Aww. She couldn't come up the stairs. It's heartbreaking. It is. And there's a lot of people like that. So when I go out and I tell the world, like, yeah, I'm working out, I'm doing this stuff, I'm eating right, it feels like I'm preaching to people. And people don't like to be preached to.
Right.
But I'm just like, I'm coming from
that's a triggering topic.
It is a triggering topic, but I feel like people need to confront that. Like I had to do a lot of work and look at myself in the mirror and said, fuck, you're a fat fuck. Like I'm serious. Like it's so bad. Like I looked at myself every single day until that got into my head, until I decided to do something about it. And I think people need to have that conversation with themselves.
I agree. And it's a touchy subject. And, people tend to take it the wrong way. But to me, it's really not so much about physical appearance and more about being able to have a quality life. You know what I mean? Being able to walk up some stairs, being able to go on vacation with your family and in Disney World, hiking, whatever, all of those things. To me, the quality of life aspect is so much more important than the physical aspect. And when people ask me, like, how do you work out 5 times a week, even though you hate it? I trick myself. I say, you know what? I'm just going to do 10 minutes. That's it. Like just 10 minutes of movement. And then after those 10 minutes go by, I'm like, I might as well do, 30 minutes. You know what I mean? So I trick myself. Or like when I'm on vacation, sometimes I work out and I'm like, I'm just going to get an iced coffee and I'm going to get on the elliptical and just watch TV, right? And that's how I trick myself into doing it. And then I end up having a full-fledged workout, right? Okay. So to me, it's like have small little goals for yourself and I promise that you'll eventually surpass those goals. So I say start with 10 minutes. Yeah. Get on the elliptical for 10 minutes or whatever machine. 10 minutes is nothing, right? Eventually add 12 minutes. 15 minutes, 20 minutes. You know what I mean? Yeah. Start small. To me, that is the best advice to getting your health under control. Start small because if you try and start from couch potato to marathon runner, you're going to fail miserably.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're going to feel like you failed. You're going to feel like a loser. Just walk for 10 minutes.
You're absolutely right. And I feel like for me, there's different people, like different classes of people that work out. So for me, I need a trainer to tell me what to do. I don't know about you, but I have built up the discipline to be able to go to the gym and get it over with. But the last thing I want to do is think about what I have to do when I'm working out. Yeah. So it's beneficial for me to have a trainer. Yeah. How do you feel about that?
So for most of my life, I couldn't afford to have a personal trainer. So I had to motivate myself. And those are some of the tricks I had for myself was to motivate myself. Now I do have a personal trainer. He comes to my house 4 times a week. And it's amazing. It's amazing because I don't have to think. He pushes me because, I won't really push myself. He pushes me and I don't have to worry about like planning a workout or like what's today, leg day, arm day, whatever. But I understand that that's not possible for a lot of people because personal trainers are expensive. But for those who cannot afford a personal trainer, there's little hacks, you know what I mean? 10 minutes. Reward yourself with something, hopefully not food, but reward yourself with something if you work out. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes I don't want to wake up in the morning to work out. And then I'm like, okay, you can't have your coffee until after you work out. So I get out of bed, I, work out, and then I have my coffee, and that's like my little reward for working out. So there's just little like hacks and tips and tricks to get on your health journey. And I think a lot of people are discouraged because they've tried and they've failed in the past.
It's hard.
It's really hard. Yeah. And the discipline that it takes is a lot.
Well, I think the thing that people don't realize is that it's a lifestyle change. Mm-hmm. Like you can have your double meat burgers and all this stuff on the weekend or like for one meal. Yeah. But like, I think thinking about the long term, because the quality of your life, the rest of your life, really is going to impact the rest of your life.
I agree.
I find it very fascinating that I only stumbled upon that when I was 40.
Yeah, and that's amazing that you did, though. It's never too late. Yeah. Some people are like, well, I'm already in my 50s. Like, I might as well just, ride it out being unhealthy. And it's like, no, you can.
It gets worse, exponentially worse.
You can turn your life around, at any age. Physically and mentally, right? A lot of people say like, oh, I'm too old to change. You know what I mean? I don't agree with that. Yeah. I'll never agree with that. Oh, they can't change. They're too old. I don't agree with that because I feel like if you do the work and you have the willpower to change yourself physically and mentally, you can.
How do you find that willpower?
I listen to a lot of, like I said, every morning I listen to podcasts. And I used to buy a lot into hustle culture and like, I'll sleep when I'm dead and blah, blah, blah. And, work and never rest, no vacation. And I realized that was really toxic for me. And if that works for other people, great. I love that for you. For me, I prefer more of like a spiritual, like, perspective, you know what I mean? Like
a full life.
Like don't be so hard on yourself. If you make a mistake, like learn from it. Don't dwell on it. If you miss your workout today, okay, make it up tomorrow. Don't dwell on it and be like, I give up. I'm just not going to work out ever again. You know what I mean?
It's easy to give up.
It's easy to give up. And I think that being kinder to yourself is more productive than overworking yourself. It's the weirdest thing because it doesn't really make sense. It's counterintuitive, but the nicer I am to myself, the better my life gets. The harder I am on myself, the harder my life gets. And it doesn't really make any sense because you would think the harder you are on yourself, the better your life gets. But for me, at least, that hasn't been the case.
Yeah.
When I am like, okay, Leah, calm down. Things are going great. It's not the end of the world. Do something fun. Do something that you like. And then I'm like, and then good things start happening to me.
Well, how did you find that? Because that's emotional intelligence. Like it takes a long time to figure that out. How did you get that?
So during the pandemic is when I became very spiritual. My mom has always been a very spiritual person. She's very...
You talk about spirituality. Is that different than religion?
It is. And a lot of people make fun of people who say they're spiritual. There's a lot of memes about people who say they're spiritual. I personally am not religious in the sense that I don't go to church. I don't adhere to one single religion. I respect and love all religions. And if going to church is your thing, that's awesome. For me, I am more like all of these religions are pretty much preaching the same thing, right? Like love each other, be kind to each other, take care of each other, don't hurt people. And so I'm more of like, if I had to choose a religion, it would probably be Buddhism or Taoism because it's very like, it resonates with me, right? So if you want to choose a religion, choose one where the message resonates with you. So during the pandemic, my mom is a very like new age, like yoga, meditation, earthing. Like earthing is like making sure your feet touch the actual ground to get like the earth's vibrations and all of that. And so during the pandemic, I started getting into all of that with her. And ever since then, it's just...
Had she always been like that?
Pretty much, yes. She's always been like into yoga and meditation. But I would say after she retired is when she really got more into it. And it sort of rubbed off on me. And then I have some really good friends who are also into that stuff. So I really like hanging out with them, talking to them. And so a few of the thought leaders, in case anybody is wondering, are Wayne Dyer, Abraham Hicks, Eckhart Tolle, Jerry and Esther Hicks. So it's all weird woo-woo stuff, but if you look into them, it's great. Those are the people that I listen to every morning. Deepak Chopra, I'm not sure if I'm saying his name correctly, but all of these like spiritual thought leaders are, the people that resonate with me. And so I escaped hustle culture where I was really hard on myself. And I've now found, I don't know what to call it. Spirituality, emotional intelligence.
I think it's a little bit of mix of both. I feel like also like a lot of people, before we finish off the podcast, a lot of people will listen to these podcasts and get all this motivation and stuff. And then like for me, for example, it took 3 years of listening to Les Brown on my couch.
I love Les Brown.
He's the best.
I love Les Brown.
I got to meet him once. It's so awesome.
I
love
used to
that guy.
listen to him while I would work out.
Yeah, he's one of the coolest guys I've ever met. But it took...
Is he alive still?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, I'd love to meet him.
I listened to his stuff for 3 years sitting on the couch, and I finally realized like, fuck, I got to get up and actually do that.
Yeah.
So I think the implementation of the actual stuff that you're listening to is the most important part, because you'll sit on the couch for 3 years and figure out, fuck, like I actually have to do something.
Yeah.
Touch on that, because I find that super fascinating. Is like, you can get all the motivation you want. It's not going to do anything.
But if you're not implementing it, then what difference does it make? Yeah. And say that goes for, not just business and work. It goes for every aspect of life. If you have all these great ideas and you're not implementing them, then you're not achieving anything. and implementing them is the hardest part, right? Because that's the part that takes action and discipline. And so when I'm trying to implement something new in my life, it takes a lot of bargaining with myself, right? Like I said earlier, and this is just what works for me. I have to sort of trick myself to want to implement things, right? So I will, trick myself by saying, okay, the example that I used earlier, I'll go get an iced coffee and I'll just get on the elliptical just for a little bit. And then it ends up turning into like a 45-minute workout, right? Yeah. Or I need to start waking up early and being at the office by 8 a.m., right? Well, you can work in some sort of, I guess, reward, for doing that. Maybe you, take a 15-minute walk during your break, and that's like your little reward. Like, I think you have to find something that's going to get you excited about it. Because if you just try to implement it without some sort of like reward for yourself, it's really hard to get the motivation to do it. So I would say find some tips and tricks, whatever it takes to psych yourself out to do it. I think that's going to help. And also surrounding yourself with people who do it.
Yeah.
Surrounding yourself with people who take action.
Massive action.
Massive action is going to get you to also take massive action. Having the right influences in your life is to me the best thing that you can do for yourself, because a lot of my friends, they are entrepreneurs, business owners, they make it happen, and I love to be around them because it motivates me to make it happen, and it actually forces me to take action. So hacking your own brain is one thing, and then surrounding yourself with the right people. You're finding your tribe, and that, I know that can sound intimidating, but your tribe is out there, and there's a lot of people who want to see your success.
I feel like the number one superpower is speed, and I feel it's speed. Yes, because the speed at which a thought becomes something actionable or real, that's a real superpower. Like, right. How do you get your idea to become something tangible? Right. The speed at which it happens matters. Yeah. Like, what you're going to have an idea for the next 2 years. Mm-hmm. What are you going to do with it? So you know who also has that superpower? Who? God. in a spiritual sense, the being of everything, he can instantly think of something and it becomes. Right. So I feel that every single person has that exact same thing. They just need to figure out how do you get here and implement and then make this become real. You ever thought about that?
No, I haven't. I'm glad that you're bringing this perspective, because speed is like, do you think people should work fast? Like, you think if you have a thought, like...
No. So with business specifically, how do you implement the things? How do you figure out if that one thing is going to end up giving you a return on investment? Let's just say, right? Or an idea that you have. For example, it's Parkinson's law. Have you ever heard of that? Mm-mm. Parkinson's law is the exact same thing that happened with Conquista. Conquista lives a very interesting life. I went to a Navajo teepee for 10 hours. Me and him were on our knees for 10 excruciating hours with the Navajo tribe, and it was a peyote ceremony. In a circle, so cool. You're not allowed to leave. This is a ceremony. I asked the dude next to me, Indian from Canada. I was like, how do you excuse yourself from this? He's like, do you mean to go to the restroom or to leave? I was like, no, to go to the restroom, man. I need to use the restroom. I wanted to leave. Like, I was tired, and we're literally on our knees. But these things happen with Conquista all the time. He lives a very exciting life. He lives a very fast life. Okay. So I was like, this documentary could have kept going and going and going. And I was like, no, dude, we need to figure out a date when this is going to be done, because Parkinson's law says that the amount of work will expand depending on the time frame. So if you say it's going to take 2 years, it's going to take 2 years. Mm-hmm. If you say it's going to take 2 weeks, it's going to take 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. So you have to put an end to the goal. So I did that specifically with this.
Yes, I agree.
So I agree. Something like that, I feel like a lot of people make these goals, but they don't have an end date. So they're just spinning their wheels like, okay, well, what's next? Mm-hmm. What's next? What's next?
Okay, now I'm understanding. Yeah. And I agree. If you have an idea and it's just completely open-ended, it's never going to come to fruition, right? If you have an idea and you give yourself a deadline, the chances of that idea coming to fruition are so much higher.
Yeah.
So much higher. And maybe it won't come to fruition at all, but the fact that you're putting a deadline on it, to me, the chances rise exponentially. So I that's a great point that you bring up, because you can have so many open-ended ideas and nothing's ever going to happen. Whereas if you put a deadline on it, the chances of it happening are
as an
exponentially
entrepreneur, I have shiny object syndrome because I've had success in certain things. So I feel like I can do anything,
Yeah.
but that's not the case.
Yeah.
I had to get rid of my ego. But before we finish off the podcast, I want to talk about the collapse. So you we were having a conversation on text.
On that topic right now.
It's interesting because the idea came when Rob came up to me. He's like, let's do a podcast on the collapse. And it was a very interesting part of my life because I invested so much time in it. I got to know the story so well. I got to know the people better than Rob got to know them because I was interviewing these people. I got to spend time with them.
Right.
What were your thoughts about the collapse?
Oh my God, it's so interesting. I was like floored at Rob's interview because, I mean, you have these four average Joes, not professional fishermen, like not anybody like with Coast Guard experience, nothing like that, and they have this insanely tragic thing happen right in front of their eyes, and they,
Can you imagine that bridge?
I can't.
Coming down.
I can't.
Like
I love the way
how
he
often do you
describes it.
go over that bridge?
All the time. All
crazy.
the time. Yeah. All the time. And so I remember listening to that and thinking it's so crazy that it got sort of overshadowed by 9/11, because at the time 9/11 was the biggest news for at least a year, you know what I mean? And it was just that these two tragedies happened so close together. I don't think that the South Padre bridge collapse got enough media attention that it should have gotten. I think anybody who has not listened to Rob's interview, like, they really need to, because it was crazy. And all of like the supernatural things, like the fact that they weren't even supposed to be in that area, the fact that, the bait, I don't want to, spoil it for anybody. The woman, I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but like there was just so many things that it's like, and I've gotten to a point where I don't think coincidences are coincidences anymore. I think that they are like divine intervention sometimes, and I truly, truly believe that. And that's because I'm not, I don't adhere to any specific religion, but I do feel like they were in the right place at the right time for a reason. And all of these things happened to make them be in the right place at the right time. And yeah, I think they're heroes. And, it's unfortunate that people passed away, but I'm glad that there were a few survivors and that they were there to help them.
Yeah, so we got to finish the documentary and it went off to win 16 awards, which is...
That's amazing.
It's a blessing. It's awesome. Yeah. It's amazing. So we just finished our second documentary and it has won the Vegas Award. So we're super excited. I was always telling Rob, I was like, dude, what happens if we're a one-hit wonder? I was like, dude, I do not want to be a one-hit wonder. So it was always in the back of our head when we're making this project, like, how do we follow up with the collapse? Like, because you'll never hear a story like that, ever.
Never.
Like,
never.
Ever. Those things will never happen again. It's crazy. But I'd like to thank you for coming on the podcast. I appreciate your time. I know you're a busy woman, so I'll respect your time.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Please say bye to the audience.
Thank you so much for inviting me, for having me. Thank you to anybody who tuned in and listened. Y'all can reach out to me at Crash Scout on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook.
All right, guys. We'll see you next time. Bye.